Oh my goodness. Nothing beats fresh garden honey. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Love it. What I wanted to come out today to talk about was on the topic of honey. I wanted to talk about some things that had been popping up in my news feed and a ton of stuff around my honey harvest video in regards to the flowhive. Now, again, you all have heard of it. You've all seen the links, you've all seen the videos, you've all seen the Indiegogo campaign, you've all seen that kind of stuff. And I promised myself I would not do a video on this because of one reason and one reason only, and that is that it's viral. Anything viral, I promise myself I never get into because of the fact that viral stuff, people invest so much time, so much money, so much emotion into these viral campaigns or ideas or movements that either you are really passionately for it or you are really passionately against it. And if you agree or disagree, there's an atom bomb waiting to go off. And it's either in the comments box or it's at you, or it's sometimes in the comments box at you. And so I just want to clarify that I am coming from a different side that most people won't be coming from, and that is the fact that I'm going to school for business. I'm getting my BBA, so I'm going for entrepreneurship, and basically I'm going to start my own business. So this is really exciting for me to be able to take this stance supporting the flowhive. But I'm also coming from the standpoint of a beekeeper, and I also disagree with the flowhive. So let me start from the business standpoint because I want to start with that because I think that is extremely important to point out. I also want to point out before I start that is that, not getting all philosophical, but I want to point out that it is really important to state facts, okay? Facts, universal facts that have been tested and proven, because opinions only hold weight to yourself. My idea of right and wrong is different from your idea than right and wrong. And so for me to say this is right and this is wrong is basically saying the idea of the flowhive is wrong. And that's something that we have to be very cautious about, because that is the number one reason why people get upset, is because you are attacking a product or an idea or anything, you know? So any type of movement cannot be attacked, okay? Because if you attack it by saying this is wrong, you're creating a universal claim. And universal claims are basically stating that this thing is what it is. So if I say the flowhive is wrong, I'm stating that nobody else, if you asked if you asked everyone in this world, 100% of the universe, there would not be one person that would disagree with you. And see, that's what we have to be really careful of, is something that is an opinion has to be solely my opinion. So my idea of right and wrong, so that way I'm not offending someone else's opinion of right and wrong, because I think it's extremely important to have differing opinions. But we have to make sure that we're very careful on how we word those opinions to make sure that we're not attacking the movement, unless, of course, we're using universal facts that have been proven. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about the business standpoint. I think what they're doing is great from a business standpoint. I think if someone told me, hey, Luke, you want to get down in this business, it's going to be huge, people are going to love it, you're going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars, I think that's great. I think innovation, I think creation is something that more people need to be doing. I think we need to encourage it more, and I think to discourage it is to say that this is wrong, this can't be done, this is abuse of crowdfunding, and they need to be cut off. They do not need $4 million. They do not need $12 million. Nobody needs $12 million. Well, nobody might need it, but is that coming from what you believe or what I believe? Because I believe that if someone gave me $12 million, I certainly would not be complaining. And I think you find the same way. I think that idea of of they do not need this comes from a little place of jealousy. And I have to be very careful not to be jealous by any of their success, because their success is just as equal as my success. I can have just as much opportunity to be successful as they can, and I have to support that. I have to give them a great round of applause for that, because they created something that people are willing to invest their dollars into. And that's what business is. That's what free market is all about, is creating a product that someone else is willing to put their money into. Now, with that out of the way, I think it's great. However, on the flip side, for beekeeping, I do not think it's a great product, simply because there are certain things that it might be a great product if they can show us some of the spots where we have concern as beekeepers. I've heard this from the beekeeping community unanimously, that there are several things we want to see. The biggest one is a long-term trial, okay? Long-term trials are something that has to be done to prove the viability of this concept. You can't just create a product, and I know that there was a whole backstory. They've been producing this for a long time, thinking about it for a long time, but the public has only seen it for maybe a year, okay? Maybe 8 months, 5 months even, maybe. Somewhere around there. Very, very, very short term. And so if you're going to be creating something that's super short term, you need to be transparent for the long term, okay? They should have been documenting this years ago to show that there is a long-term benefit to the bees, because all we see is this teeny tiny little snapshot of this apparent long-term test. And we can't see that. We can't see the long-term benefits of the bees, because the biggest concern is that over time, the bees will, A, realize that eventually the honey that was in there and then emptied, and then honey that went in and then emptied, honey that went in and emptied several times over, the bees might start getting a little smart and say, I don't want to put honey there, because every time I put honey there, it's gone. So on that standpoint, I would really like to see a long-term test that the bees will continuously fill that up. The next long-term test that I would like to see is that the hive itself can in fact be built upon, because what the flowhive company is providing is basically, depending on what you buy, you can buy the frames, just the frames. You can combine wooden frames with the plastic frames, and then you can also spend an atrocious amount of money, like $900, to get the entire the brood chamber with frames and the honey super with frames. So you can get a bunch of different stuff, but I would like to see a long-term test on how the bees react to you know what I mean, being built up, because what they have is 1 box, 2 box, and any beekeeper knows that you have to add on more boxes. So I would like to see, you know what I mean, how are they making you purchase more of their product to build up a colony? Because I don't want just a brood chamber and a honey super. I want 2 brood chambers. I want 3 brood chambers. I want as many as I can stack on without that thing toppling over, because that means the more bees I have, the stronger the colony, the more disease resistance I have, the more pest resistance I have, and the more likely it is to survive. Okay, so long-term test on that. Another thing that I want shown is that you can adequately see or somehow find out the state of the honey/nectar in the frames. That is a huge concern for all beekeepers that have kept bees for longer than a couple years and have actually harvested honey. And that is the fact that the flow hives, they just crack on open. You can see through a little viewing window that, oh, my honey's ready, crack, and you start dripping out the honey. However, with that comes the fact that honey is cured. So bees have actually fanned the nectar that they gather from flowers, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of flowers. They fill these frames and then they fan them. And when the water content gets to a proper point, 20% water content, they actually cap it over with wax. And you can only see, looking in, you can only see about maybe 1 inch to maybe 2 inches, maybe 3 if you're really, really lucky, into the frame. And that might all seem capped. However, bees cap honey from the outside in because it dries faster from the outside. Just like wood, if you cut logs, the ends will dry faster than the center. And that's just how it works. So So it dries similar. And so you have a case in which the honey will be capped on the outside. And you look through and you say, my honey is ready to be harvested. Snap that baby open, starts draining out. But what you don't realize is that probably about 50% of that frame, maybe less, maybe more, I don't know, is uncapped, meaning that there's not enough water that has been evaporated off. And what that will do is it will actually crystallize and it can ferment. And that is disgusting. And not only that, but it's a complete waste because then you have to throw everything out and it does not last long. So if there's a way that you can show a beekeeper without actually pulling up the frames like I do and like I did in my honey harvesting video, you guys can check that out. By the way, I'll post a link. I had to pull out the frame and I said, this hive is ready to be harvested from. And that is what you have to be able to do. You have to be able to check it. And these flow hive people are saying, oh, this hive is efficient, it's convenient, and you never have to enter your hive. And all these young beekeepers will love this because they don't have to put on a suit, they don't have to check the hive. And I think that's just a little bit of wishful thinking, to be honest, because you genuinely do it in order to have the proper honey harvest. The very next concern that I have is with the fact that you're gearing towards new beginners, and the Flow Hive company wants to they want to get more young beekeepers involved in beekeeping. And so what they say is, well, this Flow Hive is great for young beginners, and it's kind of just a set it up and go type thing. However, without the proper education as to what a queen excluder is, a lot of beekeepers know what that is. A queen excluder keeps the queen from going up into the honey supers. The honeybees will go anywhere they want, except for the queen, which stays down in the brood chamber. However, that's only if you have a honey super, or only if you have a queen excluder. If you do not have a queen excluder on, or you put it on late, you don't know where that queen bee went. And unless you're checking the hives, unless you are doing what the Flow Hive says you don't have to do, which is check the frames to make sure you don't have brood there, you don't know where the queen is. So for a young, inexperienced beekeeper that doesn't know when to put a queen excluder on, or what to do with it, or how to tell when is a good time to add a honey super on, that queen excluder does nothing. And what you might do is you might go, my honey is ready, crack. And what that will do is if there is brood in the honey super, what happens is that will damage the cell, and it will actually send a signal to the worker bees. And the worker bees will say, whoa, something is wrong with this cell. They're extremely hygienic. Honeybees are some of the most hygienic insects in the world, and they will actually notice that there's something wrong with this cell. They will chew away the cap. They will rip out the larvae because they cannot have bad larvae. They need the strongest and the healthiest. They'll pull that out, and they will actually drag it out of the hive, and then they will leave an open cell there. And so what you've actually done is, by thinking your honey is ready, and by cracking that open, you've actually killed thousands of bees. Thousands. The queen bee can lay up to 2,000 eggs per day, and each frame can hold thousands of bees. And by cracking just one, you've killed thousands. Cracking two, you've killed several thousand bees. Okay, so you need to be able to make sure that you're not killing bees by cracking that open. And I get that you added a queen excluder to the equation. I get that the Flow company did that, but they need a better way of guaranteeing that young beekeepers are educated on this type of thing. So I see I'm running out of time. I can see on my timer there that I'm running a little bit long, but I just wanted to put those points out there. You know, put those definite universal facts out there. I think that it is a great product. I think that there are some long-term things that need to be pointed out. I think there are some concerns that need to be pointed out. And I also want to end on the fact that having a honey-centric product is great if you want honey. However, if you are bee-centric, being that you are for the bees over the honey, you need to basically tell them that as well. The Flow Hive company is basically selling a honey-centric product. You're really selling the honey. You're really selling the ability to harvest more honey. So you're selling a honey-centric product marketed as a bee-centric idea. So keep in mind that you can't have both, because those are conflicting. Those two things conflict and they butt heads. My phone's ringing. I'll talk to you all later. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Post your comments in the comments box below. Be constructive, and I'll talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.